Yeah.
So let's say I don't know what DECA is, and what's really the background on that?
Well, DECA is a student organization, was founded back in the mid 1950s. Actually, do you want the long story or do you want the short story?
The medium story.
Okay, give you the medium story. Okay, well, the medium story was actually DECA was founded by a couple FFA instructors that were getting frustrated that FFA was getting too technical. And this was the story I've always been told. And they thought that FFA needed to focus more on the business aspects and the marketing aspects. So they actually created, that's where DECA spawned from, was from that mid 1950s. From there, it's actually, DECA's kind of changed a little bit there. It used to be Distributive Educational Clubs of America, which kind of dealt more obviously with the marketing aspects there. But as time would have it, it just dropped all that there. It's no longer an acronym, it's just DECA now. Student organization, obviously, students that are studying business marketing, supply chain, logistics, entrepreneurship, hospitality, and finance. Say that a couple times real fast. Here at Triad, we're really in our second full year. First year, this is actually our fourth year. The first 2 years we were partnered with Marysville. That was in the time when I was bouncing back and forth between the two schools, and as it may be with bylaws, is that we could not have two chapters with the same facilitator. So since Marysville was already established, I wanted to bring that DECA experience here to Triad, and we just kind of blended in with the Marysville chapter. And then last year was actually our first year that we were DECA or Triad DECA. So a lot of great success so far. And we do our competitions, we do the coursework, we do all those things that makes the DECA experience. I've said before that you can come in and experience the class, but I don't think you get the full experience of the class until you join DECA.
I agree with that.
So now that we got the background kind of out of the way, I wanted to talk about what our chapter has done so far this year. And we finished the IE conference so far, and we finished the first round of virtual business. So the IE conference is a business competition part of DECA held at Bell Fountain, and it's a bunch of local schools that are in DECA, and we go and compete there. We do 2 rounds, and just kind of get your score. You go against, so there's 12 heats. Is that what there was?
I think so.
And we competed against 5 other schools in each heat, and that's how it worked that way. And whoever was the best in each heat was determined who got the medals, first and second. And then we had our virtual business, which is, there's 7 different events in the virtual business. There's personal finance and retail, which is what we destroyed everyone on. We got me and AJ, Austin Switek, was first in the region, and Jacob Hartlow was first in the region. I did personal finance, Jacob Hartlow did retail. Mine is more about one dude taking control of a store, and I said it wrong. My dude's about one dude getting jobs and trying to make as much money as he can in 4 years. Jacob Hartlow was in charge of taking over a store and trying to make as much money in 4 years. It's basically how it is worked.
Don't forget Lillian and the Jacob Partlow team. I think the most important part to me with Virtual Business Challenge, though, this year was I was able to go back and I found an old news story that was released from 3 years ago. I think it was 3 years ago. No, I'm sorry, it was 2 years ago. It was the very first time we competed in Virtual Business Challenge, and we were highlighting the fact that we had 3 people in the top 50 in the state of Ohio. And I just look at that continuous growth and to see where we came from. 3 years ago, we were celebrating the fact that we had 3 people in the top 50 in the state of Ohio in virtual business personal finance. And this year, we had 2 in the top 15 in the nation.
Yes.
That's where we've came from. We had the first and second place team in the state of Ohio this year.
In the region.
And now we
And the
fill,
region.
and now we
And-
fill all the state of Ohio.
And now we
in ranks.
kind of go in and we take a lot of that state of Ohio. And even from the regional rankings, when you pulled up the regional rankings and you see, Triad right there in that mix, and it shows where we've come. And, and if we can do that in a period of 2 to 3 years, what are we going to do 2 to 3 years from now?
Yeah.
And, and I guess that's where, we need to continue to get better. And that's why IA conference frustrated me. We did not go in there and dominate that the way that I hoped that we would, especially when we're playing here in our own backyard. That's the teams. I mean, it's nice to dominate or to go in and compete well against in districts, regionals, nationals, because there's some, there's obviously a lot of rewards that go into that, scholarship money, notoriety, things like that goes into that. But right here in our own backyard, that's bragging rights. That's bragging rights. And, when you can put Triad on top, and, you're going up against Marysville and Urbana and Bellefontaine, and it's fun to beat Triad and go in there and beat them. Because, when we think about other things that we compete in, most of those schools don't lose to Triad. And it's fun to go in there and beat them. So the IA conference frustrated me a little bit this year, but I think it was a good proving ground, because that's the other thing too, is we have a lot of first-year people again this year. That's the one thing that seems like that's the never-ending cycle, is that each year we continue to have new people, and a lot of new people. And whether it's scheduling or whatever, I don't know, but it seems like one of the things that we run into here is that we don't get a lot of people until their senior year. And then they come in, they join, they get involved with the DECA stuff and all the activities that we do with DECA, and then they go, wow, why didn't I do this 2 years ago? Why didn't I do this 3 years ago? And I'm sitting here, obviously people listening to this can't hear this or can't see this, but I'm getting nodding heads from people that are like, yeah, that's happened to me. But I seriously, I hear this more often than not. And that's probably the one thing that I hear most often is, when I'm talking with seniors as they're getting ready to graduate, and they're like, why didn't I join earlier? And they walk past our room, and I seen them in the hall, and seen them at lunch and things like that. And we, of course, small school thing, it's great because you get to know even kids that you don't have in class. But that was the thing that's probably frustrated me. That we get people in, and once you get that year under your belt, and that's the year it's ready to go. And now we're running into that. So anyhow, it's just something. And talking to other DECA advisors, they run into the same thing too. There are some schools that they don't even allow students to join DECA until their junior year. So, so I guess we should really be fortunate that we do have even the number of freshmen that we have. We have several freshmen involved. We got several sophomores involved.
And they've done good things, like Clinton a few years ago.
Yes,
it's been good.
Clinton was actually our very first state top 10 from Triad. He was our very first person that stood on the stage at state competition. He did that as a freshman. And, and last year he won the first, he was state champion in the first round of Virtual Business Challenge, personal finance. Last year, or this year, he was runners up there to the team of Brian and AJ. But, I see a lot of great things with Clinton. We did lose another member there, but we've got a couple. We got a couple people that are actually next year that will be 4-year DECA members. That they will be into their 4th-year DECA members. So that's something there that not a lot of people. I mean, even in my time as an advisor, I've only ever had 2 people before that we're able to give before your DECA members. So, and you think about, even with varsity sports, to have somebody that was a 4-year letter winner, that's quite an
Yeah,
accomplishment.
yeah.
It really is quite
Sure.
an accomplishment.